holiday. We have Labor Day in Victoria. My partner's working from home. We might make some noise, so I'll just see how it all goes. So I thought maybe I couldn't do the video, but here we are. So, just had my coffee, which means I probably have to pee later if I'm being an adult about it. So I'm into the meat of things. Hopefully, I'm just waiting for the video feed to come up. Might hit refresh as usual. Let's see if this is working. Yeah, cool. Cool. Chat window's up, video's up. So that's cool. Let's see Galarcor's little pick there. I'm just looking at what else is coming up on the desk. Alright, so moving on, I'm going to put in the next two rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's good. Then I've got one spare. May get some more of them. Hopefully the shop has more because I've been buying lots of them. So, for the input-output buffers, I'm just using 250/88s rather than copying like Japanese specific ones which have that funny pin out. I just thought using something with a normal pin out. These are really good, like they're low noise, high gain. Not super high gain, but good like workhorse transistors. Turn the soldering iron on. And yeah, I might just get started. I mean, hopefully in this one we can start loading in parts, which I think is the more interesting thing to show. Like how you wrap it and solder it and thought process and blah. Just straightening these up. Oh, so for those hitting the game late, check out the other videos. I'll try and link them all together in one playlist. These are my TS10 builds, TSX. I've also got a smaller version of this, but this is the point-to-point crazy build, which takes days. I should talk about that later. I'm just trying to get these like twisted in such a way that they're gonna align nice and straight when I drop it in. Just makes the build look that much neater. Okay, that's one. So, let's get going on these. So to plug these into the tag strip, I separate the leads as close to the body as I can because I don't want any short circuits, obviously. And then I think from memory I can get about that much. Let's try that. So this one needs to go in here. And then like by the time I solder it fairly close to the tag strip, like it won't be far away enough that there's leads flying around to short out, and it won't be close enough that you can sort of like push it in and short it like it's mechanically stood off by the leg. So there's going to be wires coming in here. I'm going to put it where I want it, cut the legs, and then just solder the one that's accessible, which is only this one here. So this is mostly me talking to myself. As I keep saying, it's very dangerous precedence to set, but I'll take it. And this will help me get the work done if I've got a camera overhead documenting it all, filming it. It's not really a document. So, it's looking good. And like I said, I might do everything in duplicate. I'll do 1, 1, 1, 1, sort of like an error checking, and this way I'm going to get through the builds a lot faster. I think I haven't done this before. Like I've never done 2 of these at one time. I do the boxes in batches, not the circuit assembly. This one wasn't stamped in as well. Let's see. Looks pretty good. Same thing, spread it really wide, right at the base of the transistor. And I'll solder the only one I have access to, and I'll do it at the back, it just makes it a little bit less mess. So I'm hitting the terminal, not the transistor, ideally. And at the back it's come through, it's filled up the whole thing, it's a little bit extra in there, it's sort of gone up the leg, but whatever. All good. So, just trying to think ahead, I'm going to need another wire. It's the last of that wire. About 39 millimeters. And everything in duplicate, so I'm going to do 2 of them. Let me think, I need like a decent amount, like maybe 4 mil. Is that 4 or 5? That's 4, good. These are going to feed into, let's go like jump diagonally to link 2 terminals of 2 different tag strips. Carries positive voltage to the input and output buffers, which are just the transistors. I'm not going to run the extractor or anything, it's a bit noisy, and the soldering is sort of pretty far apart. Just pre-tinning the ends. So, that's going to go in here and sort of head off diagonally. I don't want to push the insulation into the little socket terminal, what do you call it? Pilot tag? I don't know. So I'm trying to heat the terminal and just visually check that the solder's going. It's filling the whole terminal. It's amalgamated with the wire and the transistor. Okay, that's going to come around, and it's going to come like this later. So I'm just going to try and put a little kink on it now. Hopefully that's right, because I'm about to duplicate it, do the same thing here. Whoa! I just catapulted the wire off. That's right. You can see where it went. It's a good amount. It looks good. Again, I'm just going to form the lead, little kink where it's going to plug in later. What else is missing? I think that one's good to go. I can drop this in. It's got a few more connections coming from that we've already done. I've already done. No, just one. Oh, 2. Okay. So, so that's gonna come up. That goes to the base of the transistor. That row there. So I'll start feeding this in. I'll get 2 of these ready. So I'm putting the dressier side of the flat washer on the top, if possible. So, do. I'm just gonna like feed it before I align. There we go. I'm still getting by hand. It's the second last row, so I'm glad this is sort of finishing up and I can start loading in the bits. I'm just tacking these on. Okay, so that's dangerous because the wires are in their right spots now, but they're not soldered, so it's like a loose thread. I've got to try and remember, like, don't leave them. Because it might work, because the metals are touching, they're making continuity, but there's no solder on them. Especially the parts where you're doing mechanical wraps. Like, the whole point of that is it works well. I mean, not well, but it works without solder. Possibly well. Okay, I think I can tighten these up. I might just nip it all the way, then I won't tighten it all the way. I'll go back to the other side, tighten that up, and then I'll come back again. Because I want to make sure that these feet are all nice and in line. It's very easy to have everything looking all wonky by the time you finish. I'm tightening it from the top, that way I'm not twisting the nut in the bottom and then twisting the tag, the foot of it. Good thing this box isn't powder coated, I can just smack it on the bench and not worry too much about it. Otherwise, it might not be so rough. It's a stainless steel bolt. You only need so much tension. There's no lock washer, but I have got a nylon nut, so that's to keep it tense for the life of the pedal. Just straightening everything up. I mean, it's pretty good. Everything's working out. Okay, the iron's on, so before I move on, I'm going to tie up these loose threads, like I said. A bit shaky still, I just woke up. Okay. So I'm just doing the base of this transistor with that wire. That's good. Cool. And this positive's got one more wire coming in later. It's a really tight little terminal because I already desoldered it once, so it's got 4 wires going into it, so that's pretty much the limit. I wouldn't do more than 4 wires unless they're like really thin. And there's a jumper wire. I'm going to put in. Goes from. I like these underneath. I probably should have done this before. Oh, it's going on top. Wow, this link is barely just long enough. I'll use it. Come down a bit. When I grabbed it just now, I put a little kink on it. That's not good. I'll try and. So yeah, it's luckily just right. I wouldn't have any shorter than that. That's the right one. Yep. Just sort of double checking as I go. Check the solder off. It's good. Yeah, I like it. Came out well. Okay, duplicate that to this one. Let me just check, I think that's all good. And I'll get down to the last row, which is not much work. How's this? Just twist that around a bit. Flatten that a bit. This one that way. Yeah, it's a bit better. Alright, same thing. I form this lead a bit. Let's see here, let's take that out. Get a couple of these ready. This is an M3 6mm hex head bolt. Hex bolt. Stainless steel. I've just been calling them 6mm hex bolts. That sort of makes sense. M3. Okay, feed that in. Feed that in. It's just falling into place. It's like it was designed for it, you know? Wow. Okay, out of the way. Yep. I'm just putting it in so it doesn't like tacking it into place for a sec. And get the tools involved. Again, I'm going to start one side, tighten the other side, and then come back, tighten it the rest of the way. I've just got a call, so I'm just going to put the fan on, drown out some noise. So you won't hear that call in the background. Plus, it's a hot day today. I wouldn't mind the fan. It's not my extractor fan, it's just like a little desk fan. So I'm happy to just stick things between my legs and use my legs to tighten things up. Cool. So I'm just gonna straighten it up for one. Alright, that one's come out looking wonky. I don't like that. Ugh. How did I do that? Somehow I've like twisted it in place. So yeah, I have to undo that. It looks really messy. So how do I fix this? I'm gonna like bend it that way so when it comes back it's... I don't want to stress the board any more than that too, like that's enough. Okay, that should be cool. It's a lot better at least. Whoop, I just lost the... There you go. That's weird. So yeah, this is fiddly. I'm sure other people are quicker with it. I'm not left-handed, but I'm going to use my left hand now. No, I can't. I'm going to swap it around. Cool. Nice and tight. I feel like I'm fumbling around a lot here, but I just don't want to forget anything. You do get like a finite amount of stress you can put on this material for sure. Don't just push and pry it and think it'll take anything, like everything. But I am going to sort of shape this where I want it before I start soldering. And again, loose threads. It looks like it's done. I might skip the idiot check. So I'll solder that now. That's the base of the transistor. Is that the input or output? That's the output, comes off the volume pot. That wire should be in there too. Yeah, it is. So volume pot output here comes to the base of the output buffer, like with the input of the output, or the out. Yeah. Anyway. Next, oh no, I got that link in, which I did on the other one. So get some wires here, which I can't pick up. Got it go. Here, diagonally. And once you get these links in, it's like a real like solder lock of rigidity, so I like to do them last, because you've sort of defined this is where things are going to leave, and anything you tug or pull thereafter is sort of stressing it mechanically, like you got different tensions at different points. So I'm just going to check I like where it all is before I solder both ends of this one. It's got a little bit of an S-bend in it. That's not a bad thing. There's no component on that tab yet, so I'm happy to hold it a bit longer. I'm not going to burn the material. Before I solder it, just sort of last chance to straighten it up, make sure everything's where I want it. Close enough, I hope. And I'm filling that whole terminal, that whole hole. Making sure there's like a little nice mound on the other side. Just as I can see, a little flux. Get that off as I go, because it's going to be hard to get into later. So when you see like flux on the side of the enclosure, you can just like flick it off. It's easier as you go. Like, I don't like seeing blobs of anything sitting on the bottom. You might think, is there a solder blob? So if you're looking at someone's work and there's like blobs on the bottom, that's worrying. It's someone who's not that experienced, and makes you wonder about other things. So it's good to not have blobs. Especially like if you've got little balls of solder, they can get lodged anywhere, like under these terminals of the pots. They can sit between the pot and earth, and that's one reason that I elevate the pots with an extra nut as well. Moving on, I got the last two. Home stretch. I'm just going to check now. I did put in the right transistor. Yeah. So I get these bolts ready again. Might as well do all of them. It's good to, when you got repetitive tasks, try to task change as little as you can get away with. It's good for error checking. It's just good for efficiency. But at the same time, I like getting returns on my labor, so I like not doing the same thing forever. Like, do it to a point where I can say, yeah, I've closed that off, that works. Otherwise it can just be exhausting. Just self-management, I guess. I don't know. And different people definitely do things differently to me and more effectively, but I'm just trying to work out what I can do. So I'm straightening these up, like putting the legs on 90-degree angles. Oh. Some of these, the tabs are pulled away a bit. Once they got the parts in, they're all good, especially if you solder the bottom, because it like makes the solid terminal at the bottom. Let's see how that's aligning. It's not bad. I might spin that in, spin that out. That's better. So I'm gonna have to solder that and then like push it in, but so thinking ahead, this one will also need transistor. This is the input buffer. It's just a little follower circuit. I'll bend them both. This is going into, I believe, here. Yeah. So again, I'm gonna space it far enough. I don't want to be able to possibly short circuit to anything, especially, I don't know, if someone pushed their finger in, or I think of things like that. Like, what's the worst case? Yeah, cut the legs. I mean, I just did. And 2 of these I can solder right away, so I will. Which angle do I want to do this? I do want it sitting. I'm just going to hold it with one hand where I want it, just spaced away a little bit. I can do one terminal, then reassess, take a look. No, I'm going to push that down a bit more. That's pretty good, I guess. Now the base one, I might do it from this side, which means I've got more chance to like flood and make a big blob on the terminal, but like if I had to pick between the two, I'd say that one looks neater, even though I can barely see the lead pushing through. Yeah, that's, having said that, I might I think it looks a bit better now. Now I can, there you go. So between them two, I'd say that one's a bit neater. Okay, so both things in duplicate, I'm going to do the same thing. That's pretty good, but these are a really tight fit. I had to sand off the edges to make these fit in the box, but when they do fit, I mean, you can't argue with the results. Oh, you can. I can argue with anything. A bit more. It's not something I can rush. Yeah, that's looking good. So, same thing. Input buffer. That's, I like where that's sitting, something like that. Might as well cut these now. And they're just overhanging like the tiniest bit, pushing out both sides of the terminal. It's definitely not flush. So I can do one, have a reassess, jiggle it where I want it before I move on. Because once you got 2 in, it doesn't move anymore. Whoops, come on, please. Cool. I don't want to cook that. It's got a part in there. And both of these are going to need another wire, which is another 39mm, like the output buffer needed, just to give it a positive supply. So sometimes you can't jumper parts, it's just not nearby, or you know, there was nothing between this part and the 9-volt supply, so you just need a wire. That slows you down, going from a part to a terminal, terminal to a wire, wire to a terminal, terminal to the part. I take 4mm off each side. It's going to go through the bottom. I like doing the wiring in those bottom little eyelet things on the tags. And it sort of keeps it all close to the chassis. Too, the wires aren't really going to be serviceable parts necessarily. Like, you don't expect them to fail or need, especially these are Teflon wires. Like, so having the parts in the serviceable range and wiring, if your wiring's gone, like the circuit's already falling apart, so I guess the pedal's at the end of its life by then, which isn't going to happen with these parts. This is going to out-survive you, you know. It's just metal, Teflon, phenolic board. I mean, I guess it could rot, maybe, if you buried it or something, I don't know. So this will come in here. And it's gonna have to like tuck underneath one row, then come up the next. So I'm gonna sort of bias it to point down. I don't wanna like solder it, make a solid thick, and then try and bend the solder joint, because it's gonna jeopardize the integrity of it. Solder joints shouldn't bend. I'm gonna put the smaller side in. So as much as possible, I'm trying to get the lead laid about where I'm just taking a guess. Should clean the iron tip, have a big blob on it. That's come up pretty well. So like I said, that's going to go under, and then I guess something like that. Yeah. Again, I'll put the smaller end, and I'll put it at the bottom if possible. Or not, maybe I won't, because looks like the transistor is needed that way. I would have put it at the bottom, but get a bit more liquid flowing. Come on, come on. Yep, sure. So it's going to come up round and then in, something like that. I like that fan. I'm going to keep it. Okay, in you go. This one's going to have a lot less room to get the tools in because the foot switch is already in, and well, that's all. On the other builds, I have to do the bottom strip, do all the wiring first, and then drop the foot switch in, because there isn't enough room to get a tool in to tighten up that nut. But this one is because there's only 5 rows, not 6. The other builds, there's 6 rows. This is going to be tight, y'all. See if I can fit it in now. So I'm trying to fit. It is 4, yeah, there's a component, a jumper lead, and then 2 wires which are pre-tinned, all going in at once. And to make it worse, I accidentally soldered this terminal before and then desoldered it, so it's like it might have a little bit more solder left over. So it's tight anyway. I think 4 is the limit for what you should. 3 would have been good. But, you know, makes the layout. How am I going to get this in? So I can't see what I'm doing, I'm just trying to feel it by hand. I think that's it. I'm going to go backwards till I find the thread, you know, and then forwards. But okay, last chance to sort of straighten up the biz. Glad, that means I can start plugging in parts. I have to do it all in this video. I mean, not all of it. I really doubt I can go through it all in this video, especially because I'm building two. I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to remember to come back and tighten that in a sec. Oh, there's not enough slack to get the socket out. Might have to like grind this down one day maybe. That might solve the problem. So this one's wanted to live somewhere else for a sec. Oh well. I'm gonna try. Use my legs to hold that and spin it from the inside. Snip it up that last tiny bit. Done. So straighten things up. Again, I don't want to stress out these boards. They just fit. Okay, so there's that one wire. Let's go in. Positive. How's that looking? This one, it might not be the neatest. The more I grab the insulation and try and force it in, I just need a spot for it. Yeah, I might just have to accept that this wire and the other wires might not all fit so great. I want to make it happen. Come on, how do I do this? Right from the top. Just trying to find like a little extra slot. Again, this would have been easier if it wasn't desoldered once. And the more I'm grabbing the insulation, the more mess I'm making the wire look. Oh, crap. Really, there's one away. So we get one in, and I'll do the other one. Something like particular about it. Alright, well, if I get them, that's about the best I'm going to get out of it. So, crap. So I'm just going to keep it like that. Try again. Bear with me. This is why these things take forever. And it wouldn't have gone so badly if I didn't make that mistake in the first place. Cool. I'm going to leave it exactly where that is, and I'm going to really flood and make sure that they're all nicely amalgamated into one solid joint. Could have looked neater, but like functionally this is good. And oh, actually look at that. What was I worrying about? So it all came out. That looks good. Looks really good. Sort of like next time. Yeah. Anything else missing? So I'm gonna copy paste that to the next one. Then I can probably do some of that wiring. Yeah, no, I'll just, yeah. Try and think ahead of myself a little bit. Okay, that should drop in. All good. No, this one's going to fit. Same thing. It's going to be a pain. I'll deal with that in a second. Might as well bolt it in, get started. Awesome. Just dropped one washer. So I saw where it landed. It landed in this box. I think it's gone. I'd spend more time if I wasn't on video. Okay. Last bolt. Yay. This is like a saga, you know? This is my week counting down. It's really hard to sort of like, I've got to balance getting it on the thread, and I think that's got it. Yep. Cool. So how's that looking? It's looking good. Make sure the battery lead's not getting squished. So I don't need this anymore. Dunsky. Why is there a dead transistor sitting up here? That's weird. Okay, get that into shape. And then I've got that same ordeal of trying to squeeze the 4 wires into that little positive terminal. But that's good. Again, I think it's a bit quicker in that I did 2 at a time and I just transferred the motor skills I just had from the previous build. Like I said, configured things the same way. Okay, transistors, just doing like an idiot check. I think we're good, so I'm going to keep wiring bits. I need one, this will be the send into the board, 36mm. And then I'm going to be out of wire. I can't think of anything I'm going to use that for. Unless... oh, actually that's 16mm. I can make a little... that wire there's 16mm. I can use that. Crazy. New roll of wire. This is Belden. It's really pricey. The price just keeps going up, up, up. Like, it's nowhere near what it used to be. It's their prerogative. I get it through a distributor. Don't know. It's just the quantity level I sit at, I guess. So, what's the deal with this? Looks like it's got to go from the foot switch to the 3rd terminal at the bottom. So one end I'll strip off 2mm and the other one 4mm. Because the foot switch doesn't need much stripped, and if you do too much it's going to push into another terminal. A little more, not much. Okie day. So how's this gonna work? So maybe I can try and put both ends in, then solder, or so already I'm having trouble getting that in. What I'm gonna do is squish it flat. Square thing and a square thing. There we go. And then feed this down. Oh, look at that, beautiful. I'll get it where I want it, then I'll solder it. And it's just poetry. Don't want to solder too long, because with the Teflon, instead of melting the wire, you can just have the solder liquefy and go up inside the wire, like solidifying the copper strands. And I don't like solid wire, if I have the option. I'm just pulling this back a bit so the uninsulated bits overhanging both sides a little bit. Like, I don't want the insulation pushing right into the terminal. Wouldn't be a problem, it's just good, you know, looks good, it's good practice. It's okay. I think this fan's making my joints a little bit cloudy. tight. Yeah, we've had like, it's been just under 40 degrees, like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and we've had 38. Yesterday was, I think it got up to 38 or something too. Regardless of what the weather says, our vehicle set got hotter. Yeah, I went to the beach last night. It was hot. There we go, that's looking good. Same thing, I don't want to get the insulation just sort of, yeah, just sort of there. Just moved a bit, but whatever. I'm sure it's still fine. I'll just move back. Cool. There is another link going from here to there. Yeah, I probably should put it in now. Yeah, why not? So I need some pretty hefty wire. Will this work? Might not be long enough. No, it's just not long enough. There you go. 2 long wires. Pre-prepared earlier. So this is actually the return wire. It's going to come, so the input's coming here through the buffer system and the output buffer's returning here. You do have in and out crossing over each other a little, bad practice, but no problems. Also, the send and return do get muted on bypass, so you're not going to have any oscillation, bleed through or anything when the true bypass is on. Just see if it just fits. Yep. I'm not going to do a mechanical wrap on the foot switch side. Actually, what I'll do, this will work. What I can do, my guy soldered one side of this now, I'm going to leave the rest sort of dangling. It's an idea I had last time. So this is going to get wrapped around that terminal later. I just want to leave it till really last because I don't want to have a wire pulling or pushing, like tugging on the foot switch terminal. So copy and paste that idea, move it across to this one. This is too long, I can cut just a little bit off to make it more manageable. I feel a lot better that the circuit's starting to get built now. At least the true bypass is nearly done, so like the pedal does something. Yeah, again, I'm not doing mechanical bypass on the foot switch bit because, mechanical wrap because I just want it to be more easily serviceable. I haven't got up to the point yet where like pedals are coming back with dead foot switches though, so maybe it won't happen, but you know, I've got the 10-year warranty and they're going way past that. Okay, great. What else can I do? Again, I'm looking for loose threads, loose ends. I think I just need to start putting parts in. Fantastic. Alright, let's start doing that. I'm gonna go top to bottom. Already got a couple in at the top. Keep going, I need 1K resistors. How many of them do I need? I'll get them out now. Yeah, I'll just get 2. So I know the volume pot has a 1K feeding into it. It's like a limiter. And it has to go between here and here. So what I'm going to do, and it has to not short out to this, which is a bit scary. Something to be mindful of anyway. I'm going to put a little hook at the bottom, gold lead at the gold band at the bottom, lead band. And then decide, do I want it this side or that side? Probably doesn't make much difference. But I will put it that side, just I want to get it away from that output socket. And by the time that lead wraps around, it's going to like mechanically secure it away. It's going to be a short lead, so it's going to be very rigid. Okay, this little hook at the bottom, I'm going to like crimp it, squish it down. Now I could either solder it now, or get everything in place and then solder it later, but it's just so easy to pull up right now. I was worried about having room to get the iron in. Not worried, but mindful, concerned, I don't know. Thinking about it. Okay, and then have a think about how it's going, you know? I'm just going to cut a bit off so it's more manageable. I'm going to leave a decent chunk more than I need, but it's going to mean I'm not stressing things, moving it around, and especially now that I've soldered one end of it, I don't really want to move that. Any flex should be on the existing leads. So I was thinking I could have insulated this. I could have put like a sleeve over it to stop them shorting, but what I'm going to do is just make it short enough that it's not going to have any flex to move between the two things it's fixed to. So usually I'll wrap things around it because it's coming from the top anyway. I'm just going to do like a hook and like have it mechanically come up each side and then just terminate. Done. There is one more part that goes in there, a 1 microfarad capacitor, so I won't solder that yet. Copy paste, I'll just do this one quicker, I hope. Need a hook. Cut off. And this is almost a redundant part, like, what is it doing? It's coming off into the volume goes straight into the buffer, so it's like a 1K always in series with the buffer that's also before the volume, so it's always taking off some volume. So it's a 1K up against a 100K pot going ground, so you're losing about 1% of the volume going through this little limiter, I guess we'll call it. And I guess the only thing it's there for is when you got the volume at max, you've got no limit on the buffer, which isn't a horrible thing, but anyway, let's cut some of that. I just think like if a lot of DIY people were designing this circuit, they would have left this part out. Again, I'm just sort of moving it that way, away from this. Because don't forget the plug will come in and sit out here too. So yeah, if I can move it. There, look at that. So I did. So that might have been good. Maybe I should have like biased a little bit this way before I soldered the bottom as well. But like I said, by the time I solder the top, it's going to be a really short lead. It's going to be really rigid. So I was running really long one mic caps. That was it. So for this build, I've got more coming. But I had to get like do a quick order. Where are those suckers? This is my random unsorted caps box at the moment. So I was planning on using these. What are these? Panasonic. Everyone loves Panasonic, no? It's already got like a little bit of lead forming on it. Which it looks like I'll have to undo. That's a shame because it's nearly useful. Okay, well, I'm just going to undo that lead forming. Because yeah, it is just the tiniest bit wider than. So I'm going to make a new lead forming of my own. I'm not sure this is going to work. Bear with me. Because what's it spaced with? So it's like it's formed to a 5mm spacing. And I'm going to make it something more like 7.5. Just by giving it the smallest amount my pliers can space. And this is a high voltage 250 volt cap, I think. Yep. So lower ESR, not that it's going to matter. This is just a full pass decoupling stage for the audio. Yeah, that's better. Now that fits. How am I going to do this? Same thing, I might come from above and just wrap it up around the top and solder it, call it a day. So, I don't know. How am I going to do that? Put another hook. Same on this one, put a hook. Alright, let's come in. I'm going to solder one end of that between my legs here. Whoop. And then so we get everything holding in place, then I'm going to take a look at where it's sitting and before I go any further. How did that go? Good. See how close that is to that jack. Wow. It's a big ass cap. So the other ones might not have these caps. It depends on which parts come first. But yeah, they look good. Panasonic, you know, Japanese sort of build we're going for here. So I'm gonna keep moving. Let's put in some 220s. $220s are in the bag. I remember they were just floating. I got these the other day. leads. They're going to be easy to find. I'll get out how many? 1, 2. I need more later. I'll just get 2 for now. And I just bet one, stabbing it into my finger. Awesome. I'll put that aside. We'll need them later. Won't need that. So what I'll probably do, I'm just feeling that coffee is coming through me. I'll do this video as far as I can. I'll probably take a break. I'm gonna do some washing and stuff around the house. So 220, this is gonna come in. I'm gonna work top to the bottom if I can. Between here and here. So it's jumping 3 terminals. Usually with the resistors I do it between 2 that are up beside each other, or I jump one and I do 3. Probably wouldn't do 4 and stuff unless you're going to put insulation on the leads as well, because it's a bit of a stretch. 3 and 4 though, you can do it in a way that's safe. There's nothing for it to bump into. So anyway, when I bend these in, I'm just going to put my thumb at that little junction so it's bending it just a slight bit further out. Let's see how that looked. Cool. It's going to have to go on the inside because there's no room up the top because there's sockets in the way. I'll put it in and sort of center it and then start wrapping evenly. And what shows someone's got some experience with these things is when they finish, everything looks even and not skew if, and the the tag strip boards aren't sort of tugging each way. And I'm reading it, you know, left to right for the color bands. And I'm going to cut the leads now where I want them, because again, that's going to make it all uniform and tidy. And while it's touching up against the board and it's all centered, I'm going to hold it with one finger and wrap these down. Not too tight, just because I'm going to have to get into them in a sec anyway. And I'm going to pull this away from the board. Would be good if I had something like that. Yes, I do. I'm going to wrap it, crimp them down again, because as I pulled it away from the board, the wraps are sort of pulled out away a bit as well. And then if I have to, I'll repeat, move it up, crimp it again, but that looks good. So I'm going to leave it. And then before I solder it, sort of reassess, is it positioned where I want it? Yeah, cool. Before I solder the terminal, just think, is there anything else going in there? No. So this terminal is just going and connecting at the bottom to earth. So that pretty much is connecting to there. But I didn't want to have it jump 4 terminals, so I've done like a little link at the bottom that just earths. And also it made the layout look neat in that there's no unused terminals sitting around. So I'm going to solder this from the back side. That way I won't wick as much up the lead. And I'm even like using gravity on my side. I'm angling the box. Otherwise I don't want it to sort of like go down and blob up anyway. So that wrap has become a part of the blob. It's not like loose, that's good. That's just the right amount of solder. What else is happening? On the other end of that, we need a 220 nano. We're doing tantalum caps. Ooh. I'm gonna need more of them. I know there's some on order. I'm gonna count these out now, because I need to build these this weekend. I mean, today. Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm using all of them, cool. So at some point I must have had a plan for this and it didn't work out. It looks like it was doing something like this. exactly what I need. I wonder what the deal was. Maybe I just like made it too long, and I reckon that's what happened. I made it like a little bit too long. And I thought rather than pulling it all apart, doing it again, I can just put it in a circuit board one day. Which hasn't happened. I'm just gonna make it a little shorter. Those mechanical wraps, I'm just going to make them a little, I don't know. I'll probably have to cut them, or maybe I'll cut it once they're in place. Let's see how it works out. So rather than cut the legs, I'm just going to drop it lower in the terminal and let that absorb the extra length, like just seat it down lower. It's fine. It looks a little messy, like a little recycled. I think I'm just going to have to live with that. Double check polarity, positive is on the right side, yes. This is going to come straight off the tone pipe. Off the lug to the center lug. And I can solder both ends of that now. Nothing else is going in. And I'm happy. So all that was just 2 parts. That took quite a while. I'm going to duplicate those 2 parts here. Hopefully faster. So again, straighten it out, and then use my thumb, put a little bit of spacer in rather than just like folding it right at the part. And then I'm gonna pre-curve it a bit so it can feed and scoop in. This desk is horrible on my posture. My back is not doing well. Ooh, so that I've made a mess. It's already like not scented very well. Try that again. Wow. Yeah, I've really messed that up. There we go. So it's going to be a little off center as long as it looks even. Cut off the excess. And fold it over. It's going like straight up and down, like perpendicular to the part, like, and then sit it out. Now luckily there's no more parts coming here. I can sit it out that extra distance, but if there was another resistor there, you might have to, you know, make them a bit shorter, and then they might have to sit up and down on top of each other, which means you might have bodies rubbing, overlapping. So again, I'm pulling it out, crimping it in. If you want, you could shove something in there. I think it's going to be okay. I'm going to do one and then sort of straighten it a bit. This is the 220. Oh, yes, so I'm just double checking everything as I go, like the color bands and yeah, so now I'll straighten that a bit. That's pretty cool. I can start with this next little 220 nano. So again, I'm gonna have to undo that lead form that the factory's done. I'm trying to straighten it out again. Visually look at what I'm trying to do. I guess I want it to come out like there maybe. Let's see how that goes. Something like that. And then wrap them around. Just try and do it evenly, otherwise you'll see it just won't look great. Yeah, I think I'll cut off the extra. Don't have much room to make mistakes too, because they're the last parts. I may build these today, ideally, or at least not be stopped by one part. And more are coming. Check the polarity again before I solder anything. That's a silly mistake, an easy one to make, but easy to prevent. Okay, I'm going to solder one end, straighten it up, and then work with the other end a bit. Cool. Which side? Let's do it from this side. Okay, that's pretty good. Have I made a mistake here? Yes, I have. I should not have soldered that because there's a part going in there later. So I'm going to desolder that now. Maybe I should mark that on my notes. It's not a big deal. Yeah, that's good enough. So that's mistake number 2. How's that? A bit more. Yeah, I guess. It's gonna be fiddly and annoying later. That solder, I'm gonna put it on my solder pot. Melt it down one day. Moving on, we need power diodes. I've got some 1N5818s. I usually use 1N5819s, but I bought these accidentally, and in some ways they're going to be better, so I'm using them. Okay, so this is all the power into the circuit except for what goes through the LED limiter. That doesn't need to go through this diode, and it's better that it doesn't. So I'm gonna just visually see, probably need a bend about there. How's that? Something like that. So yeah, copy paste, everything done twice. And I'm going to cut off what I don't need. So just a little hook that's going to go into the terminal, overhang a bit each side. It's plenty of space there, so. So I'm going to feed it through but not solder it. hopefully get 2 parts in. Wishful thinking. Should work. 2 fairly thick parts going into one not so big hole. And if I fiddle too much, I'm going to kink the wire. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take the LED one out, put the diode one in, and then have the LED one as a secondary, so it's just sort of tacked on the outside if I'm honest, but I want priority to go to the circuit one that's sticking through. Or what I could have done, and I still can, but I won't, is connect that resistor to that lead. No, I won't. There we go. And the extra, I'm gonna, oops, just mangle everything up. Whatevs. And I'm gonna try and straighten it before I wrap it. As I wrap it around, I'm making sure that it's not pulling the terminal board that way and like everything's pulling in different directions. It's very easy to do because I'm going to wrap this around now, so as I wrap it I've got to sort of like pull back on the board a little bit, put an opposing pressure. Otherwise you'll just put a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and they all just go each way. So I'm going to hold the part and wrap it. I'm doing it off to one side because there's another part going in. And repeat. What I'm going to do this time is cut off a little bit off the other end, make it easier to play with once it's in there. So probably the same thing. Can I fit 2 in? Probably not. So I'll take that resistor out, put the diode in, and then, oops. And then same thing, I'm just going to like tack it on. I'm like pushing it into the hole, but it's not getting the lead through. How'd that come out? Good. So again, I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to bias it to sort of lean to the left because there's another part coming in. And again, when I wrap this, try not to have it pull the tag strip, so I'm going to just be mindful of that. Oops, I'll try to have the wrap go straight up and down. I think that's pretty good. What's happening next? 6,800 microhenry inductor. So I bought like a big bag of these. And their main job is not being an inductor here. Their main job is the DC resistance. I think they're about 32 ohms, something like that. So that's a really good value for this current draw, for like a little isolation, power noise rejection sort of. So by putting in some series resistance in line with the power supply, when you got the filter cap after it, not before it, you're going to make a roll-off filter. So it's just the resistance of that is going to make the cap that much more effective. Otherwise, if you say, well, I've got, if you're doing an RC roll-off network calculation, you say, well, my capacity is 1000 ohms. What's the frequency you're filtering? You're like, well, what's the resistance before? And you're like, well, none. And you're like, well, you're not filtering anything. But you know, none isn't a number that actually happens. But this one I'm putting in a good number, and it's not enough that's going to like cause too much sag on the supply. So it's sort of like a way off between how much sag do you want and voltage dropout versus how much noise rejection do you want. So it is technically a regulator, it's just not a linear regulator. Linear regulator. So this part I'm going to have just float between those two. So I need it. Unless I'm going to like bend the legs and shove it in, which I might, just make it as small as I can get it. Because there's diagonally going to be another resistor going across this, so you can't have two resistors coming up diagonally intersecting. So one's just sort of living a bit lower. I'll feed that in, it's looking pretty good. Try and center it and wrap it. I have a feeling this usually won't stay in the center very well. So what I might do, I'll take each side up a bit and sort of center it that way. And then again, as I wrap it, if I wrap them both in, there's every chance that the tag strips are both gonna concave in. So I don't quite have enough to wrap it around. I'm gonna cut that off. Oh, maybe I can. Maybe it's just enough. But if I do this, I know it's going to pull it that way a bit. So I might even, like, just beforehand, like, give them a quick double check. Squeeze it out a bit. So I've got a loose end here that I'm moving on. I could have soldered that. I'm just sort of going to get it in its final position first. What else is going in here? There is a resistor. Cool. And I'm happy if every time I can move on with one joint. There's more parts going in the bottom, so I'll do that later, but like I feel like the part's soldered in now, you know, it's got like, it's got a home. Alright, copy paste, next one. What's going to be interesting, I'm just realizing, as I move down, one of the parts is going to be the IC chip has to go in there. So that's going to be like the DC positive, power comes in through the diode, through the inductor, it's going to have a filter cap here. It's also jumping across here to another filter cap that's a 100 nano ceramic, so it's a higher speed to handle the higher frequencies, and the electrolytic's going to handle the 50-60 hertz or the hum stuff a bit better. Anyway, yeah, I'll put the inductor in the next one. So I'll make it just a bit shorter again, probably both sides, just a bit easier to manage. See how that sits. Make it a little shorter. And then feed it in. Trying to wrap it around. So I'm just starting one wrapping, and the other one I could probably start it up as well, very loosely. Cut off a little bit. And then just enough squish it down. So you get a view of the top of my head there. Again, before I solder, I do want to make sure I've done my best not to tug on the tag strip. These I'm going to bring them together. Just makes it a better solder joint. Do it from the top, why not? Try and get the heat down the bottom so it can all, there we go. Let's just fill the hole then. And after it fills the hole, I just let it sit there for a moment before I pull away. So what I can do, pull it out, cut it, wrap it around. Again, make sure you're not tugging down. When you wrap it around, it's very easy to tug. And that's happy. Okay, this is going to be the hard part. You ready? So I went to order more of these last night. This is an NJM 4580 as in 0L, made by JRC, Japanese radio company. They also use NJM for their branding. So I've got 2 left after this, and they're obsolete now, out of production. I mean, obviously, why would companies keep making chips like this? But it just bummed me out so much. It means I have to, if I'm gonna keep these up, I have to get new old stock, hunt them down. You know, don't go to Chinese eBay, which is where it's so tempting to get them. Like, oh, cheap Chinese eBay. That's where they are. But then I've just stopped doing that sort of thing. So I have to hunt them down. I know where you get them. It's a pain that I can't get them readily, and it means I have to stop putting them. Sorry, I can't speak. Putting them into new circuits, like they can't go in new designs. I use these in the THD as well. I was using them in the small version TSX circuit. I might not even release that to the public now. I'm just going to adapt it back to a JRC 4558D, 4558D. Anyway, so I'm going to need legs. I'm going to need 16 of them, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 8 at a time. That makes sense. So, yep, this is going to be fiddly. I'm going to put little hooks on each one. And I'm going to slide it to that first little notch in the leg, not all the way down to the casing. And then sort of crimp it on and around. And then this is going to be a real test of spacing. I'll just have to think a bit as I go, not to make short circuits, how to not. I'll show you. It works. But yeah, this is a very fiddly part. Then once it's all done, like dropping it into the tag strips is also fiddly. I've got room on this side, so I'm sort of moving it across. Cool, 1 in, 17, no, 15 to go. So, do that one. The next one's also going to have to pretty much come out like diagonally pretty hard. But I'll put the hook on first anyway, work from there. So in the other boards, like this, I've used metal can ICs, so you still get the 8 pins, but they don't quite reach across, so I have to extend 4 of them on the corner diagonals. And then you got these little extensions floating in the middle of the air. So I've done a tiny little hook, can't see that. And I'm going to try and copy the way it's come out. I need to make this smaller and really crimp it around and try not to squish the leg. Yep, I just flipped that leg over. Which you don't get many opportunities to do. Try and squish this in a little smaller. The other thing is I'm using some fairly hefty legs on these, like the leads aren't flimsy cap. Maybe I should have. No, this is better, So it is a bit thicker, there isn't much space left over at the end. I can't really rush this, I do have to sort of patience. Check it as I go. Because I'm already feeling like there's not enough space to... There is. I just have to be really careful with how I use it. So the smaller leg would have given a little bit more space to not have shorts in the bottom, but you'd be have less rigidity, which I thought was probably more important. So I'm going to have it exiting that way and then bend it after the fact. My depth, that's what's happening. And the best way to hold it is with your fingers. I don't recommend doing that, that's how I do it. So like I said, that's going to have to come out and hopefully be long enough. Let me check. Should be. It's going to be like that. Yep. Just long enough. Not really, could have been better. Keep going. See, that took ages, and it's just one bloody leg. I gotta speed this up. I made the smallest loop I could on that. So this one. I'm doing them all with the leg coming out the same way. This one's looking a lot better. Cool, that's a good one. Heaps of space on that, nothing to... Just give myself little pats on the back as they get better. Nope. This is a much less interactive chat than all the other videos. It is public holiday, first thing on a Monday morning here, so probably the very worst time. And it's not national public holiday, it's just state public holiday. It's starting to look a little ugly from the bottom view, but I'm hoping it looks good from the top. I mean, it will. And what's more important is the actual practical application. Like, this has to be like a sensible solution to mounting the IC by the time it's done, without any risk of short circuits or damage or whatever. So yeah, if it looks a bit weird, I don't know, but it's got to work well is the number one. And I was trying to work out, like, how do I get ICs into point to point? And one of the obvious solutions would be like, all right, well, just mount it on a circuit board and then have like little leads. Like especially the DIP8 packages would have been harder to do this, but because it's a SIP8, like single inline pin 8, instead of dual inline pin, that spaces it out twice as wide. I was already using these chips, I just thought, yeah, that'll work for this layout, better than a metal can. You can buy metal can JRC 4558D, I think it's H or something. Or is it 4558H? I think it's DH. 2 suffixes or something. But I just didn't have a reliable source on them. So if your source is eBay and they will have slightly different prints, that's like a bit of a red flag. And it's hard to find like legit information on them. So a bit, yeah, I had to stand off from those. Alright, 2 more left. I won't use that one. Some of these feel like they got a bit of glue on them. Like the paraffin glue. No, not paraffin, but from being in the ammo pack strips. I've done such a good job with this, and I feel like I should probably do the other one before I move on. Just gonna make that a little smaller. There we go, goozle. This one does have to come out diagonal, so I'm happy if it does, which it did. Oh, hot. So if you look, there is a bit of space between each one. It's a good amount. Try and make this a small little loop. It's the last one, yay! And it does have to go out diagonally. I could do it either way as well. I could do it that way. I wonder if that might be smarter. It might be. Let's do it backwards. Why not? No one's going to notice. How'd that go? That's too low. That just joined where I said I didn't want it to join. Hot. Okay. So yeah, I might try and drop this in, see how the lead forms went. I'm going to cut the legs. That way if I made any improvements or mistakes, I can carry it on to the next one. Let's lean backwards, trying to fix my back up. Okay, this. It's going to be quite a diagonal little I don't want to bend the actual, like, if I'm grabbing that, I want to grab the leg, bend the leg, and not twist the actual IC leg in place. This one's got to come out a bit. That one's going to come a lot. Some of these I'm just going to have to make way shorter. If I make them too short, I can't undo it, but anyway. So the long ones I can feed in, hopefully. And then we're going to sort of come from above and come down and then wrap around. Like I said, this is a fairly sort of rigid structure now with all the 8 legs with the fairly thick leads. That was the point. So it's going to be hard to get in and out without a little bit of lead forming. I think the minimum amount. I've done this backwards. Whoops! Oh my god, that would suck. I've done that before. That's horrible. Okay, so these ones are a bit longer, which means these ones I have the option to sort of start bending them down and in. And then like feeding it through as I drop the IC in. This is like the motor of the build. Now I'll do it just really incrementally because I don't want to tug on the IC legs or twist them around. Okay, we're winning here. This is good. This is like one of the best ones so far. I guess it's just, oh, top one's come out. Just a bit of experience. Now I'm seeing this one here is coming a bit close, so I'll shove the whole IC that way. And I'm just looking around, nothing's looking sus or like it's going to short out or anything, so I'll drop it in and start folding the legs around. Why not? I'm just going to do this loosely first. I'll go around, cut it all off, see where it sings. Again, it looks like I'm pulling the boards in. I am. It's mostly come off one side, whatever. It's pulling the boards in. Spread them apart. All good. Cool. I'll try and wrap these over properly now. That might be all that one gets. You can see just how tediously slow this is compared to dropping in a dip 8 chip onto a circuit board. And they're going tack, 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 done. So I blame the person who designed this. It's a design flaw. It's just like a disruption to my life and living situation. See what I can get away with saying. Okay, I didn't leave enough of that. I probably should have left a little bit more, 1 millimeter more. Alright, I'm looking at it all again because I don't want shorts. I'll just spread those legs apart. Oh, that's better. That worked. What I just did there. A little bit of black flux, I'm going to spread that off. Looking good. A few more to wrap. Whoops, that didn't work out. Cool. I gotta bunch up anything I wrap. I sort of bunch them together if possible. Now I could adjust it, but where it's living is now where it's living. I don't want to touch it too much. Again, I'm going to double check. I'm happy with it all. Okay. This one, output B can get soldered because, ooh, is that wiring? Yes, because that's going to jump from here through that to the 1 mic cap, which is installed in this one for some reason. So I'm going to solder that in now. And I didn't fill the eye. Whoops, there we go. Just checking the chips in the right way. Oh, that would have sucked. Like I said, one is missing a 1 mic cap. I forgot to put that in, so I'm going to undo the factory lead forming. Sorry, leg. I'm going to make my own, nice and close to the part. You can use different parts of your pliers as a measuring guide. Like, it's thin at one end, so if I bend from a thin point, it makes a small bend. If I bend from there, it's going to be, you know, a big chunk longer. Okay, so same deal. It's going to come down, have a bit of a wrap on it, so I'll do that here. And then cut off the leftover, of which there is not much. Okay, what's going to be the deal with this? It's going to have another 1K coming to it later. Wrap it around, wrap it around. try and sort of shift it that way because this part's coming in that way, and I want the resistor it's connecting to, which goes to the pot, to also go that way, away from the mono output jack. And just solder it in. From where? Maybe from here. Nope. I don't know actually. Don't overthink it maybe. So I'm trying to heat the terminal, not the parts mostly, and it's, yeah, that worked. Move it away, making sure there's enough height clearance for the lid to go on later. Cool. I could almost start finishing that row. So all that work, I've still got to reproduce that for the next chip. That, I don't know how long that took. It was like 10 minutes maybe. I'm not even sure. It's like so disheartening, like how much work you do and how little progress you make. I just want to start putting parts in, and I'm just wiring things up instead of making circuits. I mean, that is the circuit, you know. So copy paste, go do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think this might actually be a good time to call it and have a break. I'll upload this to YouTube. There's been progress. I mean, the last videos I was doing like a few strips at a time. The bottom strips were pretty easy. Parts are going in, IC's been loaded in. It's starting to look like a pedal. It's heavy, I gotta say that, like it's weighty. It's got all the hardware loaded on, almost. And I like that. It's a good feeling, the weight. Let's make sure it's all brand new looking. So yeah, I might take a break. I've had my coffee. I have to go get rid of that coffee. It's probably just a good time to break it up. So thanks for watching, and I'll try and keep doing more soon.